In 2019, the Chinese government pulled one of the most popular web novels in the country off every platform. No official explanation, no appeal, just gone. The novel had tens of millions of readers. Its fans still haven't moved on. The crime? A protagonist so ruthless, so intelligent, and so impossible to root against that the censors decided he was dangerous. This is Reverend Insanity, and I'm about to tell you why they were right to be afraid. So what was in this novel that scared a government? Reverend Insanity launched on Qidian in 2012. By the time it was pulled, it had over 2,300 chapters, tens of millions of reads, and one of the most dedicated fan bases in Chinese web fiction. But in 2019, China launched a crackdown on web novel content. The target? Stories that promote distorted values and glorify evil. Most novels got a warning. Reverend Insanity got erased. The reason is simple. In every other web novel, the protagonist is a hero. Maybe a reluctant hero, maybe a morally gray hero, but a hero, someone the reader is supposed to admire. Reverend Insanity's protagonist is none of that. He murders, he manipulates, he exploits everyone around him, and the novel never frames it as wrong. He's not an anti-hero on a redemption arc. He's a villain, and the story asks you to understand him. For the censors, that was the line. A compelling case for amorality is more dangerous than any cartoon villain. So who is this protagonist that was too dangerous for China? His name is Fang Yuan. He lived for 500 years in a brutal cultivation world where strength is everything. He lied, killed, schemed, and sacrificed everything, and in the end he still failed. He died without achieving eternal life. But at the moment of death, he activates a forbidden artifact called the Spring-Autumn Cicada and wakes up in his 15-year-old body, 500 years of memories completely intact. Now, every other regression novel, the MC uses their second chance to fix their mistakes, to be kinder, to protect the people they lost. Fang Yuan does none of that. He was a villain in his first life, and he fully intends to be a villain in his second life, just a more efficient one. He has no system screen, no cheat powers, no destiny, just 500 years of knowledge, and absolutely zero moral boundaries. And here's what makes him terrifying. He's not evil for the sake of being evil. He's evil because he's done the math. He's looked at the world, watched the so-called righteous people, and concluded that morality is just a leash, a tool the powerful use to control the weak. The worst part? The novel doesn't strawman his argument. It lets you sit with it. It lets you see the hypocrisy he sees, and chapter by chapter, you start to understand him. There's a moment where Fang Yuan recites a poem about a bear and an eagle and the desire for absolute freedom. It's one of the only times his mask slips and you realize this isn't a man born without feelings. This is a man who chose to bury them. Fans call him the greatest protagonist in Chinese web fiction, not because he's likable, but because he's unforgettable. He will ruin other cultivation novels for you, and that's a promise. Okay, let's talk about the power system, because Reverend Insanity's cultivation is unlike anything else in the genre. In most cultivation novels, you absorb qi from heaven and earth, you meditate, your numbers go up. Reverend Insanity throws all of that in the trash. In this world, power comes from bugs, living, breathing, magical creatures called gu. Gu aren't tools, they aren't spells, they're alive. Each one is a worm, an insect, or some twisted little creature with a single supernatural ability baked into its body. A moonlight ghoul lets you see in the dark, a strength ghoul makes you stronger, a flame ghoul spits fire, and every cultivator, called a ghoul master, hunts, raises, and refines these creatures inside their own body. Here's the twist. Ghoul are not loyal, they're not passive, they need to be fed. Some ghoul eat meat. Some eat emotions, some eat rare herbs, some demand human blood. If you can't feed them, they die. Or worse, they turn on you. Cultivation in this world isn't meditation, it's ecology. You're running a farm inside your own soul, and every creature on it has needs. And here's where it gets insane. There are thousands of different gu. Each one is a unique ability. Each one has a recipe. Each one has a weakness. Lord of the Mysteries has 22 pathways. Reverend Insanity has an entire ecosystem, a bestiary so deep that after 2,300 chapters, the author was still introducing new ones. And then there's Fang Yuan's signature move. While every other cultivator chases rare, expensive, high-rank gu, Fang Yuan uses the cheapest, weakest, most overlooked creatures in the world. Because he's smarter than them, he knows a rank 1 gu used correctly can kill a rank 5 enemy. The system isn't about what you have, it's about what you know. Every fight in this novel reads like a puzzle. Fang Yuan walks into impossible odds with nothing but trash gu and 500 years of knowledge, and walks out richer than when he went in. It's the only cultivation system I've ever read where raw power is almost irrelevant. Intelligence is the real cheat. So what kind of world produces a man like Fang Yuan? A world where the universe itself is your enemy. Reverend Insanity is set across 5 vast regions, ruled by immortal gu masters who live for thousands of years. Mortals don't even register in this story. They're livestock. Cultivators are split into 2 paths. The righteous path follows the rules. They protect tradition, serve the great clans, and tell themselves they're the good guys. The demonic path takes what it wants. No rules, no mercy, no pretending. Fang Yuan, of course, is demonic. But here's what makes this world different from every other cultivation novel. The real villain isn't a sect leader. It isn't a dark lord. It's heaven itself. In Reverend Insanity, heaven is alive. It has a will. And that will writes the fate of every creature in the world, down to the day they die. The righteous path are heaven's puppets, chosen, blessed, and protected because they serve its design. The demonic path are the ones heaven cannot predict, the ones who refuse to be pieces. And Fang Yuan, he doesn't just defy heaven, he plans to kill it. Let me tell you what actually makes this novel a masterpiece. It's not just the premise, it's the craft. In most web novels, the protagonist wins because the author needs them to. Plot armor, convenient power-ups, enemies who monologue instead of attacking. Reverend Insanity has none of that. Fang Yuan gets hurt, he gets outmaneuvered, he has to run. There are entire arcs where his perfect plan falls apart, and he has to rebuild from nothing. And the side characters, they are not props. They have their own goals, their own schemes, their own centuries of history. Sometimes they see through Fang Yuan's disguise. Sometimes they beat him to the prize. The author clearly did the work. Every scheme references real strategy. Every philosophical debate pulls from classical Chinese thought. The novel quotes Sun Tzu, Zhuangzi, and Tang Dynasty poetry like it's second nature. And the cultivation itself is treated like a science. Gu recipes have logic, battles have rules, nothing is hand-waved, nothing is lazy, no harem, no face-slapping chapters, no one-dimensional villains. Every character believes their own philosophy, and the novel lets you decide who's right. This isn't a cultivation novel dressed up to look smart. It's a genuinely smart novel that happens to be about cultivation. And now, the part that hurts. Reverend Insanity is unfinished. When China banned the novel in 2019, it was 2,300 chapters deep, still climbing toward its final arcs. The author had plans stretching years into the future. None of that ever came. The author, Gu Zhenren, didn't disappear. He moved on, and he thrived. New novels, real success, even named one of China's top web authors. But Reverend Insanity stayed behind, banned, frozen, the masterpiece he never came back to finish. And the fans? They refused to let it die. English translators kept going for years without pay. Wikis got built. Fan continuations were written. Forums stayed alive long after every other web novel community went quiet. Because everyone who reads this novel can feel where it was going. You can feel the ending the author was building toward. The moment Fang Yuan finally stands against heaven. And we'll probably never get it. Fans call it the greatest story never finished. And after reading it, I think they're right. If you want to read it, the fan translation is alive and well. Just search Reverend Insanity. You'll find it within a minute, 2,300 chapters waiting for you. And if you've already read it, tell me in the comments, where does Fang Yuan rank for you? Greatest villain protagonist of all time, or is there someone better? If this is your first time hearing about it, come back after you start. Tell me I was right. I'm Deviation, too deep into web novels. No cure, only recommendations. Subscribe if you want more. I'll see you in the next one.